Okay, so let's get started, shall we? So bear with me because I'm just making sure my phone doesn't die, because I'm doing this off my phone this time because last time my iPad was messing up the sound. So I've got my iPad up for the chat, and hopefully, there we go. Let's move you forward a bit. Right, so you can see the character we made last time. So this is what he looks like, and I fired his head, obviously, and it's all come out quite well. And what I've done is I've just made a basic body for him. So what I did was just got a large foil ball there, large foil ball there, and glued those together with hot glue. Then what I did was I cut into the hot glue to make the two legs, just to create that divide there. And I rolled up two long snakes of hot glue and hot glue foil to make his arms, and hot glued those on. So that's how I've made his body so far. So today what I'm going to do is make his outfit and fire him in the oven. I have pre-baked the body, and yep, he's ready to go. So I thought this would speed things up a bit if I did like a base for his body. I'm just trying to get into shot there so it's a bit clearer. Yeah, if I'm going by my screen, I can see it's all right. Okay, so let's get some more clay out. And this is still the Sculpey clay stuff that I've been using. And as you can see, it's rock solid once it's baked in the oven, which is what I like about it. I'm just deciding whether he should have a t-shirt on or a jacket. What do I think? I'll have a think. Powered by Earl Grey, hello. I think you were here last week. I recognise the name. Hello. So I'm just going to flatten out this clay. No, I still haven't bought a rolling pin thing. I keep forgetting. I've got to order me one. So I'm going to improvise. Let me get my jar. It's my paint jar. That's why there's gungy looking water in it. I need to get one of those little acrylic rolling pin things. I've just got to remember to order one. I did an order the other day for some stuff and completely forgot to add that onto my order. Never mind. We'll improvise. Okay, I'm just getting my clay nice and flat, and then I'm going to start cutting it up so I can decide on his outfit. And hopefully you can hear me fine and everything, because I'm doing this off my phone this time. And fingers crossed the phone battery lasts for the whole thing. It should do. So I'm just deciding shirt or... yeah, I reckon we'll try a t-shirt and see how far we get. So I'm just going to cut up my clay like so. And I'll say with these, because he's a Frankenstein's monster, if you want to be accurate, I haven't got to worry too much about him having like the perfect outfit on. It can look like a bit of a mismatched outfit, you know, made out of patches of stuff. But I'm just doing the basic shape first of all, and then I can add details later on. So that'll be the front piece. You could put what's it called, bacon bond on between the layers, but I've found that the fresh clay seems to stick very well to the already pre-baked stuff, so I'm not going to worry too much about that. So let's just get that spread out a little bit. I wanted to be able to go straight into details today without worrying too much about you know, squishing other details or anything. That's why I've pre-baked him. Right, so I need the back of the shirt. So I'm going to roll out some more clay. Yes, I had a good week, thank you. Powered by All Grey. Hope you did too. Nice to see you back again. It's been quite a quiet week because obviously it's good old lockdown in it, but yeah, I'm quite happy to be in the house doing stuff and working from home, so it's fine. So yeah, what I'm doing now is rolling out the clay to form the back piece. Wrong end. And I'm going to get that to, it's not going to perfectly match up, but I'll improvise. There will be a gap at the side, but I can fill that in. What it is I want like the front fairly smooth if I can, just to have because at the minute the body's quite bumpy, but obviously that's just how I did the underneath layer of clay. And then just cut off this excess clay for now. I'm not going to do the sleeves yet. I'll do the sleeves separate. It's going to be easier, I think. Where does this need to go to? Let's just pull it off there. Oh, I've got a message on my phone by the looks on it. Oh well. Whoever that is, sorry, I'll have to answer messages later. But yeah, sorry about that. I've obviously forgot to turn off notifications on my phone. Never mind. Okay, so let's get this all blended in. There we go. That's one side. And the other. Oh, it's not too bad actually. I can just push the two edges together. Woohoo! Just got a small gap to fill in there at the top. Okay. Blend that in. Like so. Okay, so I do need to just add a little touch of clay on his shoulder, just to fill in those gaps. That's all right, that's nice and easy. And what I'm doing is basic shapes first, and then I'll add all the detail like stitching in his clothes, in his arms, that sort of thing. And then I'll work on the part that I always hate working on the most, which is the hands, because I'm not the best at sculpting hands, but I'll try and make something that will pass for Frankenstein hands. What a monster. So I'm just straightening up the edge of his t-shirt at the back, just getting rid of any little overlaps and bits, like so. Let's give that a nice blend in. Okie doke. I'm going to worry about getting any little sort of scuffs and fingerprints off later. I'm not too worried about the back though, because the back, like what I'll do is probably make like a little sort of diorama thing or something for him to stand in, like I did with the, oh, you won't have seen it yet, but the preacher sculpture has got like a full little diorama thing to stand in, and that'll come out on Friday next week. So I've made the little fireplace background for him and everything. And this guy will have some sort of backdrop, some sort of background or stand, so I'm not going to worry too much about the back because it's not going to be seen pretty much. Okie doke, so that's the basic part, and then I think what I'm going to do, if I just shape the neck a little bit, like so, and remove that bit. And then I'm going to go around the back. Hopefully you can see what I'm doing. around the back. Just cut that around there like so. And then I'm just going to straighten that out. I don't mind if it looks like it doesn't fit in properly, because I'm imagining that like he's got clothes made out of scraps as well as the fact his body's made out of like scraps of things. So yeah. Right, sleeves. I think the best way to do this, because I've not made a t-shirt on something before, I think the best way is to sort of get a rough semicircle shape and go around. Yeah, okay. I think that'll work. I just need a bit more clay first of all. Let's move my crinkly foil out the way. I see on other people's videos where their clay just comes apart dead easy. Nope, mine doesn't. Okay, so let's get this going. So what I'm going to do is roll a circle of clay. I think that'll be the easiest way to do it. Flatten it out. I'm just going to get it thinner so it's about the thickness of the t-shirt material that I did. Let's roll that out. Still a bit too thick, but that's okay. I'd rather have it a bit too thick than too thin. I can always take away. Right, and adding's harder. So if that goes, that'll go round, right? Might well do. So let's have a look. Okay. Do I want it that length? Yeah, that'll be all right. Okay. And then what I need to do is get that to wrap around underneath. Like so. And then if I cut off the extra here, and just wrap that under, I can always blend that back in, so I'm not going to worry about that. Okay, let's blend that all down. Okie doke. And then I'm going to fill in the gap I've got in the armpit. Let's go with my softer tool for that. Just pushing a little wedge of clay into that hole and blending it in, just to fill up that gap. It don't matter, it could have a hole in his t-shirt there, I suppose, but for now, I'll fill that all in. Okay, that's kind of a sleeve. Just got to blend it in. I think what I'll do, if I blend it in smooth, like so, yeah, and then I can always add stitching detail later on, because I can, if I put the like sculpt the stitching detail into it, I can make it a bit more delicate and less clunky. Okie doke. Just level that off a little bit. Not sure exactly what I'm going to do with his arms yet, but I mean, because I've come out a bit lumpy and bumpy, but I figure it's not going to hurt because he's Frankenstein's monster. He's going to be a bit lumpy and bumpy, so I'm hoping I could just bring that into part of the design and it will kind of work in the end. If I'd have thought about it, I probably would have smoothed things off a bit more and then worked on details and stuff with the clay I put on now, but it might actually be easier just to do it the way it is. Right, let's blend that in. Just going to blend it in, and I'll worry about stitching and things later on. I'm just going to level off that sleeve a bit, like so. Okay. I kind of like how he looks a bit sort of bulky and uneven shape. That kind of fits with the character design. I'll probably just turn these into trousers, I think, because I don't want it to be too thick and I don't want it to be the same thickness as that. So I'll have a look with that. Right, so what I'll do first of all, test out a theory. I'll roll a snake of clay. And what I'm going to do is use this to create the bottom of his trousers. To create like a little lip on his trousers. I need a bit thicker than that. And the idea is, instead of having to sculpt all his trousers, I'm just going to add on the legs at the end of the legs of the trousers, and like pockets and things and patches, without actually adding another layer onto the clay of the trousers. Okay. So to do that, what you do is where the shoes would meet the trousers, you've got to place your snake of clay around. Like so. Let's break that off. And it's going to be a bit weird for a second. It's not going to want to stick, but then I can get it to stick by pressing on it a bit more. And then I'm going to get my spoon tool. I'm just going to blend that in. So that instead of it being, I'm going to use my fingers, instead of it being just like one long joined piece, it's actually going to look like the edge of trousers. And once it's painted, you won't be able to tell the difference between the previously fired clay and the new stuff I'm adding. Just got to try and get it as smooth as possible so that when it's painted, you won't see it. If I don't get that smooth, then it'll be way too easily visible even once painted. Like so. Just lift that up a bit. Okay, so see now, instead of it looking like just one solid blob, this looks like the end of a trouser leg and a pair and a shoe. So that's the plan. And I'm going to do the same on the other side. I'm trying to do this without squishing too much detail on the t-shirt. This is why I have already fired the head and everything. Because trying to do this, if the head was soft or anything else, it would just be an absolute pain. So that's why I also added a base layer of clay to the body before doing this, because otherwise I'd be squishing the body right now and bending it all out of all sorts of shapes and just creating more work for myself, trying to get it all smoothed down and blended in later on. It would be a pain. It's awkward as it is trying not to smush up the t-shirt while I do this bit. So yeah, that's a tip, is if you've got to work on a lot of detail, get the main detail in and get the piece pre-baked. That way those details that you've put on first will stay. Otherwise you could lose those details. Just going to add some clay where it's missing there. Blend that in. And just get it as smooth, as blended in as possible. Just get that divide back in there. Okay, so that is the bottom of his trousers, like so. And I think I'm going to add a pocket. So let's get some more clay. Or should it be a patch? Actually, no, I'm going to put patches on, not a pocket. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get this clay nice and flat, like so. And I'm going to cut out a little square, but not perfectly square. so it's a bit uneven, like it's just cut out of some odd material. I think I will use my bacon bond on this bit. That's if I can get out my seat without running my backpack over. Right, so this is what I use. This is what I mean by bacon bond. It's an adhesive, and what happens is when it's baked in the oven with the clay, it makes a permanent bond between the two layers of clay. I mean, this is on, like if I left it, it might stay on, but it just needs that extra little bit of support just to make sure that piece of clay stays. And that will just hold it on and fix it well enough so it stays there while baking. Let's get the excess off. This is always the awkward bit when it's wet, but once I get these edges down, it'll be all right. So what I'm doing at the minute is I've got to blend these edges down so that the clay will stick. But then what I can do is go over the details and edges later on to make them a bit sharper so it looks more like a patch that's been sewn on. And then what I'm going to do is roll a very thin snake of clay and make some stitches for that. So I'm going to roll my snake of clay nice and thin. Like so. And it's just like when I did the stitches on his face. Exactly the same way. Just press them down so they stick. And I don't want them to be all perfect stitches either. I like it to look like it's not been sewn properly, like whoever made his clothes was more interested in making the creature than the clothes. There we go. I'm just sorting out the edges where I cut the little piece of clay. And then I'm just going to go around the edge a little bit, just tweak the shape and make it look more like it goes into the fabric. Like that, as opposed to just being stuck on the top. And what I probably will do as well is the edges of like his trousers and stuff, I probably will make them look a bit worn and ragged, but I'll do that in a bit. Right, t-shirt wise, I think stitches sort of holding the sleeve on would work. So I'm just going to create that line where the sleeve and the body of the t-shirt meet, like so. Get that underneath his arm. Okay. And I think here as well. I'm trying not to make it look too perfect. Just get rid of the extra clay, like so, and some more stitches. and more there, I think. And then I'm going to put some stitches for his sleeve as well. Just straighten that edge off a little bit. Come on, there we go. Okie doke. And I'm just going to keep making those stitches. I think I'll do some crisscross stitches for his sleeves, you know, where the stitches are crossing over. That might look a bit better. Oops. Fiddly, but alright, look better. Yep, that'll work, I think. This is one of them sculptures where I started off with a little vague idea of what I wanted to do, but it's changed over time. Okay, that was a bit better. I might try that. Try that with the ones on the patch. See if it looks a bit better with some little crossed over stitches. Yeah, it's alright. I'll do the job, I think. I just want to make the stitches look a little bit different to the ones on his face, because the ones on his face are more like staples really, and I don't want to make it look like the staples on his outfit. So yeah, so I'm going to do crisscross stitches on his outfit. Do one there. And I'm going to get one where it crosses over the top of those two stitches on the patch on his leg. Basically, I want it to look like whoever did his clothes is really bad at doing clothes. Okay, so I'm going to carry on, because I'm not too worried about the back, because of the way I'm going to display it. I'm probably going to go to about here on his stitches on his clothes. So it's pointless putting tons and tons of details on his outfit at the back when no one's going to see it, because I'll have him attached to the base, so no one's ever going to see the back of him, not clearly anyway. So it'll save me a little bit of hassle later on. Also makes it a lot easier to fire it in the oven, because to fire this in the oven I'm going to have to lower it down, and obviously that's going to squish details at the back. So I'm not too worried. Right, so if I just round these off a little bit, and I'm pushing in a little bit just to make it look like the end's going into the fabric. I'm going to do the same. Get off. I'm going to do the same on the other stitches. And then I'm going to try and put some slight wrinkles into the t-shirt fabric. Just to make it look a bit more like fabric. So by pressing that in at the edges, just makes it look like the stitches are actually going into the fabric a bit more. Do the same on here as well. Now obviously the only disadvantage I've got is because I've already fired that part, I can't do it on there, but at least I can put that detail in on here. Can't do it there or there. Okie doke. I'll add like a little bit of damage or tear in the fabric here by just scraping out some clay, because I want the edges of his trousers to look like tatty. So what I'm doing is just going in with my clay tool, scraping down just to tear at the clay and make it look a bit battered about. I'm just going to get rid of any excess, like so. I don't want to go over the top, just some little hints of the clothes being a bit ragged and bashed about. Just make the ends look a bit frayed, really. I'm not going to make the patch look as frayed because the patch is a newer piece of fabric to the t-shirt. I'm just going to make sure I've got that sort of frayed off bitty look at the bottom. And then I'm going to do the same on the sleeves. Just going to make some of these a bit longer and get rid of some of them that look a bit weird. Kind of want sort of pointy ends. I wonder if I should do it like that. That's a bit better. So I'm just going to take little triangles out. Hopefully you can see what I'm doing. I'm trying to make sure I stay in shot. But I've got my phone set up to film this, but then I've got the live stream on my iPad, so I can see that I'm in shot, so you can see what I'm doing. Because I do have a habit sometimes when I'm filming, I'll be out of shot for quite a bit and then notice and have to redo something. And obviously because the screen's smaller on the phone, it's harder to tell if it's perfectly in shot or not. Okay, that'll do me, I think. Yeah, okay. So what else shall I add to his t-shirt? I don't want to do another stitched on sleeve because I think that's just going to look a bit weird. So I think what I'll do is like a little seam, because I don't want it to be all like perfectly symmetrical or anything. So I'll just put this little snake of clay around and blend that in, and that can be the seam between the sleeve and the body of the t-shirt. I'll try not to bash the stitches I've already made. So what I'm doing is just blending this down. It's going to form like a little bit of a ridge. And then what I'm going to do is take my clay tool and I'm just going to press in along where I've blended that ridge in to straighten it up a bit. And then see what that looks like. And then I'm going to take my spoon tool and blend in the other side. And then I'm going to add some creases to the material. So I think that's just made it look weird, isn't it? Okay, let's just blend that in. Okay, I think the easiest way to do this is just to draw the seam on. So I'll do it that way. Just pressing lightly because I don't want it to be too deep. There we go. Just a bit of an indication of where the seam is, and then I'll do the same around the neck. Just a light indication of where the seam is between the neck and the body of the t-shirt. Oops. Come on. There we go. See what I mean? You've got that detail then of the collar and a little bit of the sleeve. Anything else? It's just gonna be the hands now, I think. Okay, so I left the ends of the sleeves open with the foil exposed there. The idea being is I can put some wire into the hands and then stick that through the foil. That's my plan if I have trouble getting the hands to stay on. Right, so that's his body. So let's get some clay for his hands and see what we can do. Okay. So how big do his hands need to be? Definitely not that big. Okay. So what I'm thinking of doing is just make like a block like that and then cut the fingers into it, like cut the features in. And there'll be stitches around where the hand meets the body. So I'm going to blend that all in. Like so. Let's see if I can make a hand shape out of this. So what I've done is cut 3 slits into it, and then I'm going to make this the thumb. That's the plan anyway. Okay. And this will be like a finger and a finger. Going to try and make the fingers a bit longer, not by much. Let's do our finger back. I'm not worrying about trying to do 5 fingers because that's going to be a nightmare. So Powered by All Grey says it's looking really good. I'm impressed the clay takes on texture like that. yet to try it still, but it's definitely on my list to try out the little mushroom house jar ideas. Yeah, it's definitely worth a try. It does amaze me how it holds the details. You just got to be careful when you're holding it that you don't squish the details, especially when they're small, like these little stitches. Like I've already messed up one here. So like little details can be a pain, but yet it holds like details you carve into it quite well. Sabrinax, hello. Gunther Rose, hello. Sabrinax Sabs, if I've pronounced that right, says very nice job. Thank you. Okay, thank you, Gunther. Gunther says loves your work. Love your work. Continue to work. God bless you and never stop what you're doing the best. Okay, thank you. So let's get this hand sorted. So what I'm going to do, in hindsight, what I should have done is made my arms a bit shorter and then included the wrist in the sculpture of the hand so that I can make these stitches where the hand is a bit higher up, but never mind. Okie doke. So I'm just going to do that and then make some more stitches. I'm going to leave this piece for the other hand. Don't know yet whether I'm going to do a stumpy hand or a hand. I haven't decided just yet. So let's make some stitches. Like so. Oh, staples I've decided, haven't I, for the face, so it'll be staples for this as well. So I'm going to make them nice and flat on the end. Oops. So I'm just flattening that off. You could put bacon bond on the stitches if you wanted to be 100% sure they were going to stay in place, but I find little stuff like this, it normally stays in. It's not normally too bad. And plus, because of the way the clay works, if anything did come off, I can glue on a new piece and like sculpt a new piece and stick it on with bacon bond and then bake it again. So it's not a major disaster if little bits do come off. I haven't got a ton of experience with this clay, but it seems to do what I want. Right then, so fingernails. I'm going to take my clay tool and just press in, give them a sort of rough, sort of fingernaily shape. I know it don't look exactly, but and then I'm going to give him some wrinkles in his skin where his knuckles are. Okay, so I'll have to work out how you do fingernails properly, but never mind. Okay, so that's one hand. What do I want to do with the other? I kind of like the idea of him looking half finished. I think I'll do a stumpy hand on this side, as if like when he's been made they haven't got round to doing the other hand yet and they'll do it later on, like he's halfway through being done. Let's try and blend that clay in. If you get the little bits that bead up like that, don't worry, they just wipe off. Okay. Or it could be maybe, whoops, it could be maybe for this one, maybe the first hand didn't work, so he needs another hand transplanting onto it. Okay. So yeah, so this is just like a temporary temporary thing. Or maybe even this could be like a metal, piece of metal on the end. Oh yeah, so this could be like a piece of metal on the end, and maybe if he's cross, he bashes people with that. That's the idea anyway. Okay, so what I'm going to do for this bit, because I've decided this bit's probably going to be like a sort of metal cap on the end of the stump of an arm. I'm going to put some little rivets on. So I'm going to roll some balls of clay very small, and I'm going to put some bacon bond on. Just get a little bit on my on the side there. So I'm going to put rivets where each of those dots of glue is, and it's just a tiny little dot of clay, like so. I'm not going to worry about blending edges or anything on that, something that small. It'll just be a bit of a pain. Joke. There. And one more there. Let's move that one over a bit. Okie doke. And then I'll do one on the side, because it will be seen from the side when it's on the stand I make for it. So I'll put that on as well. And I've got some paint, well, it's like a gilding wax stuff, and if you put black on first and then put the gilding wax over the top, it'll look like copper or silver or gold, depending on which one I use. I think I'll make this like a copper colour. I think that might look quite good. Let's get another little ball of clay. Okay, stick that one on, and then I'm just going to flatten these ones down a little bit. Okay, and then for his shirt, I want to add like a bit of a wrinkle or two in his shirt, so I'm just going to like put a snake of clay on and then blend it down on both sides. It'll create that little sort of fabric wrinkle once it's blended in. Kind of. So I've not tried to do wrinkles in fabric before, but I'm just having a go. And then I'm going to draw some lines in here for wrinkles in the fabric. Maybe some wrinkles around where fabric folds and bends around where his arms are. So see, it's had like a bit of a wrinkle there. I'll add one more, so I just think it needs a wrinkle over here a bit. If you want to like see how like fabric wrinkles on a t-shirt or something, you can either take a picture when you've got a t-shirt on and have a look at how the wrinkles form, or you can put a shirt or a t-shirt or something over the back of a chair and just look at how the fabric hangs. I haven't done that, so my wrinkles will be off, but I don't care. There you go. See, it looks a bit wrinkly. Oh yeah, there's normally like a seam on t-shirts that goes across, isn't there? Like that. Okay. I think that's pretty much it. have a look. Shoes, I'm not going to worry too much about. I think what I'll do first is get the actual whole outfit fired first, then work on the shoes, because at the minute if I work on the shoes now, I'm going to run the risk of messing up the details that I have got on here. So let's have a look. Let's just mess up some more edges. I haven't 100% decided what I'm going to do with these shoes yet. I'll just probably just put like the sort of toe piece in and then put some laces on. But I'll do that once I've fired the body so I don't mess up the details that I've got here so far. So got his hand, got some stitched on patch, tattered ends of his trousers, stump with metallic end cap, t-shirt with some wrinkles in and some stitching. So yeah, I think that will do the job. As I said, I've left the back plain because I've got to lie him down in the oven. And what I do is, to protect the back of the clay from burning or anything, I always place my sculptures on a piece of foil before I pop them in the oven. That way the heat of the metal pan underneath is not going to burn the underneath of the clay, and also it just because it'll stop it from getting like red hot against the metal of the tray. It's always seemed to work out better. I've only ever burnt one sculpture and slightly burnt it, but it takes a lot. And then what I've got to do is put this on 130 degrees centigrade, which is 275 degrees Fahrenheit, for about half an hour. I normally do it for. What's it say on here? Let's have a look. It says for 15 minutes per 1/4 inch 6mm thickness. I normally do it for 130 degrees centigrade for half an hour, and it's normally fine. That's what I did for the head, so it should be fine. There's not a lot of clay on there, so it shouldn't take too long. So what I'm going to do is I'll show you some other stuff while I bake him in the oven. So what I'm going to do is pop him in the oven, and I'll be back in a second. So what I'll do, I'll show you what I've been working on in my sketchbook. So while you're waiting, there's what I've been drawing. And give me 1 second. Right, sorry about that. Right, so I've put my sculpture in the oven because I'm hoping if I can get it cooled down, I'll show you me painting it today. Sorry about the flickering, if you can see flickering on the screen. I think because I've got my 2 studio lamps on and a white piece of paper, it's just flickering a bit. See if it stops when I close the book. Let's have a look. Yeah, I think it's just because it's white. So this is my sketchbook, and I do a lot of stuff digitally on my iPad, but this is some stuff that's in my sketchbook at the moment. So I've got little doodles I do, like say I'm sitting there for 5 minutes, like I'm waiting for something to download off the computer or something, I'll just make a little doodle, and sometimes I like them so I stick them in my book. I've got one of my giant African land snails. This is Theodore, and I decided to draw Theodore the other day because Theodore was out and about, and the picture I took, I thought Theodore looked cute. This is just a little sketch of my granddaughter picking up a pumpkin. It's not the best sketch, but I kept it in my book regardless. That's a tiny little sketch I did when I was bored, just like a little quick 5-minute sketch of my surroundings. So this is a staircase, fire alarm, sign, there's the window, and then here is just a sketch of my one ear that I did, just practicing. I like to draw portraits, so I do practice them quite regular. I don't always do like a load of videos on YouTube of them because they don't always get watched, but I am going to start putting some more up. And for anyone who watches my YouTube videos, this is a sneak peek because I will be doing a sketchbook tour soon, but I want to fill it up a bit more first. So that's just me pulling a funny face. So I'm just keeping an eye on the time so I know what time I'm going to take my model out. Lately I've been getting into painting just very simple quick paintings with acrylics, and what I'm practicing is, because obviously I do a lot of detailed stuff normally and it's hard to get out of the habit of that when you're painting, so then I try and paint all these minute details and it doesn't always work. So I'm trying to sort of do less detail and just quick little brush strokes and things to make it look like something, but without actually trying to sort of minutely do every single detail. Because like when I do the portraits, I'm looking at like every tiny little shadow, every tiny little line that I need to add. So something like this for me is quite relaxing because I can just sit there and paint and just enjoy painting. This is from October. This is a tea light holder in the shape of a smiling pumpkin, the smiling jack-o'-lantern, I should say. It was just a picture I took of a pumpkin on my fireplace, like a little ornament, and I thought, oh, I'll draw that. This one always makes me giggle. I'm like, so my phone screen's gone off, so I'm going to have to use my iPad screen to see where I'm lined up. I kept seeing this on Twitter. It's the Orange is Sus vote him out, like when they're doing the voting in America, and I thought it was funny. So I drew that on there and painted it, and it always makes me giggle when I see it. And then I've got just like a little simple skull study here. This is just a very small piece of scrap paper that I've got some watercolour paint on, and I just wanted to just see how smaller amount of strokes I could use to actually create a skull shape without, you know, obsessing over details. This was a picture of someone's chihuahua I saw on probably Instagram, and I just had a little go drawing it. And it's from October. This is from October, a lot of these pumpkins. It's October, so obviously there's going to be pumpkin sketches in here. This was a painting I did that went a bit wrong. I've got the perspective wrong on it, but it was only like a quick study. What it is I've done the shelf as if it's like from slightly above, but I've done the pumpkins as if they're from almost like the front. So it's just the perspective is off. So like if I got rid of the background, the pumpkins are fine. But I need the back of the shelf to probably be about here, not where it is. But whatever. It's a sketchbook, so it doesn't matter. This was a little quick skull study I did. I think I just googled a skull, and that's what I used. I've also got stuff like this knocking around the house that I collect, random things like this that I find interesting, and I use these to draw as well. Just gives me another point of reference. I do want to get one of those sort of anatomical skulls, like the plastic ones, the resin ones, so I can practice drawing skulls. Thank you very much. Sorry, I was just having my tea delivered. Thank you. My other half, my husband said, do you want a cup of tea? As I went to put my clay thing in the oven. So thank you. So yeah, so there's that. And then there's this one I'm working on now. And the way I draw these is I start off with, it's all just tiny like shadows and lines and stuff. What I do is when I draw something, I look at the photograph, and what I do is, I remember a piece of advice someone told me years ago, which was draw the shadows. So instead of actually trying to draw the actual shape of the thing and then try and do the shading and stuff, what I do is tend to go straight in with the shading and build it up from there. So like for example, for this one, I started off with the pupil of the eye and the iris, and just got in that little highlight detail there. And then it was a case of just working on the shadow. So I worked on this dark shadow that goes all along the lash line here, and looking at very detailed shape of it and everything. So let me just get my pencil to point it easier. So like you can see how it goes here, and then it goes up to a little point there where you can see some of the eyelashes. And then it's bumpy because the picture of the eyelashes isn't clear because it was like a slightly blurry picture. But that shadow there just represents where the lash line is. And the reason it's bumpy is because there's eyelashes there. And then it's just a case of finding all the different patterns and shapes. So there was like this sort of Y-shaped shadow here, which I've got to go over again because I blended it out a bit. And then it went into like a shadow here. So I'm just following the shapes of the shadows, and like this one goes like this, goes down, then across, then there's a break, and then it goes up here. So it's just copying the shapes of all those shadows, and that's how I do portraits. And then obviously I'll keep working on that until I've got a recognizable portrait. But I can't do any more work on this one at the minute because the reference photo's on my phone. So yeah, so that's my sketchbook. That's what I've been working on. What else can I show you? Oh yeah, I've got, so I'm just keeping an eye on the time for getting the sculpture out the oven. I've also worked on, my original character is Nosferatu, the son of Nosferatu, and this is the sculpture I've made of him that I did the other day. Unfortunately, I didn't record this because I hated it when I first made it. And it was one of them where I sculpted it, didn't like it, couldn't tell why I didn't like it, but didn't want to get rid of it either. So what I do when I've come across that is I'll put it to one side and look at it the next day with fresh eyes, and 9 times out of 10 I can look at it and go, ah. And I realised during last week's live stream what it was is he hadn't got any lines or wrinkles in his skin. He was smooth. Because I did Frankie, which is the one that's in the oven, and I realised he's got wrinkles all over his skin and this one didn't. As soon as I put the wrinkles on, I liked it. So this is Nosferatu, and he's just painted with acrylic paint, and he's made out of sculpture clay, exactly the same. And just to stop him falling over on my desk, he's got a blob of blue tack at the bottom. That's what he looks like. So he's got lots of lines and wrinkles. And that's the back. Got something on him at the back. I don't know what that is.